Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be doing another painting project, but this time it's a little bit more simpler. But I think it's just more important about choosing the right colors for this thing. So obviously, if you can't exactly tell, this thing is a giant wooden toolbox that I made in school. Yes, good old working wood class. And, unfortunately you weren't able to see me struggle making this, but that's okay. What we're going to be doing is kind of fancying it up, because it's going to be a gift. Now, as you can see, partially, on the inside here, is completely black, and so is the bottom. And you'd be like, what? Why is that? That doesn't, kind of looks weird. Well, it's because this thing is going to be turned into a flower pot. That's why there's holes for drainage as well, and we use this stuff, Flex Seal. As you can see, we've already used it, and whatnot. So this is to protect the wood from mainly the water, because you know you gotta water your plants, so that's very important. And we're also prepping this for possibly having it outdoors, because we don't know what the person that's going to have it is going to do with it. So we're going to prep it for outdoors, just in case if they want to use it for outdoors or indoors. This stuff is not as thick as I thought. Honestly, I thought it was going to be like tar. It was just super goopy and sticky and like a disaster. But honestly, it has a pretty reasonable consistency that you can actually like paint with. Now, of course, we just bought like a $2 brush so that we can just toss it, because, yeah, we didn't know the conditions of this. And it did take 2 coats to put it on, you know, just like every paint, you know, when you want a solid base, you always have to have 2 coats. So, yeah. Now, let's talk about what we're actually going to be painting on this. So, the person that I'm going to be giving this to is a fan of, like, rustic look. Of, like, having worn down kind of wood. Kind of like, it was a little bit like a farm type idea. So, what we're going to be doing, what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to be painting some, like, lines on here that kind of make it look like this stain's been worn off and whatnot, kind of like a paint. So the first thing to do is, because of how dark this is, we gotta have to similarly match it, so it isn't like, so what we paint isn't gonna be like burning our eyes compared to this. So obviously it's brown, and it's a very dark brown. So we got that out of the way. Now, for me, brown always has a hint of red into it. So we're going to be adding a red to kind of make it more, to kind of make the paint more vibrant, but not bright, if that makes sense. So that way it has a bit of differency, so that it actually like stand out a little bit. And we want it to kind of make it a little bit lighter than this, because it's like the under part of it, so it's gonna be lighter, you know how wood is. So for like the rustic look, to kind of make it look like it's being worn down, there are 2 things that I like to pay attention to when applying that paint on to make it accurately rusted. Is, say with like furniture like this, you want to apply it to where people have like touched it, basically. And the main part is here, the handle. It's going to be used a lot, so it's going to be worn down the most. Another thing is corners. Like corners, for some reason, if you've noticed, like old paint or like even wallpaper, the first thing to start peeling is almost always the corners. You know? So with that in mind, mainly like focus on where people will touch, as well as corners. And so I'm gonna have a bit of like a rough brush. It just basically have it very dry, so whenever I dip it into the paint, I'll wipe it off and then kind of lightly scrape it along the edges, you know, like that, and so that it sort of plies on very unevenly. Because if you know anything about nature, and like very natural things to happen, like wearing down of the paint, is that it isn't structured, it isn't symmetrical. Almost nothing is symmetrical unless you intend for it to happen. But wearing down things isn't intentional. So it's gotta be uneven. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure you know what I'm doing. I just kind of rambled off a lot. But basically, I'm going to be making a paint that is similar to this shade, but brightening it up a little bit, or making it a little bit more vibrant. And applying it onto like the edges and corners as well as the handle to show it being rustic and old. And then there's another step, but we won't get onto that until it's time, because otherwise that'd be a lot of information in one go. So, yeah, now that you know what I'll be doing, I'm going to be speeding this process up so you can see it in action. Without further ado, let's go! Alright. This is looking very cool, very subtle. I like it a lot. Yes. Okay, so now, another little fine detail touch McGee thing that I wanted to do is add just kind of like a little symbol on the front. So since this is going to be like, you know, a flower pot, I'm going to put a little flower on here and then maybe like some kind of, you know, cute plant phrase that I found on the internet, because I ain't original. But this person that I'm going to be giving this to likes succulent plants, and honestly, you know, I don't blame them because they're very pretty and very easy to take care of. So I'm going to be adding just like a little simple succulent plant right here on the front, and then I'm going to be adding some like pizzazz and texture by doing a little vinyl pot for the plant that's going to be in it, as well as the wording is also going to be in vinyl, so I don't have to worry about painting that in a cute style. So since all of this is like a dark brown, in order to make, you know, the plant look like it belonged on this, we also have to be adding a bit of brown to all the colors so that it kind of like mixes with it, I guess. I don't know how to like phrase it to where it makes sense, but like for it to kind of fit the tone of it having like a dark brown, it also needs to have a bit of brown on all the colors. So the succulent is like it's like one of those typical succulent plants, so it's a bit green. It also has like a bit of like the grayish fuzz, so also get a bit of white out and make it a bit brown. And then, of course, it has like little reddish tips, so I'll reuse that color, just make it brighter, or add more red to it. And then, yeah. So that's basically the final step. You know, there isn't much to this. I just wanted to add a little bit more personality to the this thing already, you know, and kind of fit it with the person that I'm giving it to, so it's not just shabam, school project, there you go, you know. So, yeah, now that you know what we're doing, I'm going to be speeding this process up so you can see in action. Without further ado, let's go! Well, hello there. Yes, hello. So, I brought this piece down here in a more spatial area because now that we're finally done with the painting, we have to seal it. Because if you know anything about acrylic, then you know it's a water base and it easily just wipes off with some water. You know, you can easily just wash all this off. And the whole purpose is to prep this so it's waterproof. So that kind of defeats the purpose. So now we're going to be putting a protective coat over all of this. And this here is, however else you pronounce that, all that good stuff right here. Now this here is oil base. And I've, like, the first time I've used oil base was at school and we thought it was latex paint, so I looked like I murdered someone because I used red paint and it got all over my hands. But long story short, in order to clean anything from like oil-based paint, you can't use water because, you know, it just floats. So you have to use paint thinner, a very strong chemical. Yes, yes, yes. Which is why all of this is kind of like over here, is because if it goes on my desk, that's going to be sticky for like 24 hours, probably more. But yeah. And then we also have like these very cheap sponge brushes, so that way I can just throw them away instead of having to worry about cleaning them, you know, because it's just such a hassle to clean oil-based paint. So yeah. And I'm probably just going to do a layer, probably 2 layers, because paint always needs 2 layers to get a good coat. I guess I'm just going straight into it, not even doing a transition. No transition. Alright, now the last step is to do the vinyl. So I already have this out, and I'm just putting this onto the mat so it can be cut out. This is just kind of like a darker gold, metallic kind of whatnot, and even has some beautiful texture. You can kind of see that there. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of put that under the plant, which I kind of didn't really record because it was, the waiting time for it to dry was much longer than the time it took to paint it. So that's why all of it was basically cut out. You can see there it is. I also went ahead and put a layer of sealant on this because, like, you know, oh wait, you already saw that. I forgot, that's what I didn't cut out. Yeah. So all I have to do is put the vinyl on, and that is the final step. So without further ado, now that you know what we're doing, I'm going to be speeding this process up so you can see it in action. Let's go! And that, my friend, is the finished product. So I think this is like a beautiful little symbol. I don't know, a little something to kind of draw the eye to, and also kind of gives it like a front kind of thing. And I thought Bloom Darling was kind of cute. I was definitely like looking up on the internet, and they gave me like a lot of succulent puns, which I thought would be very cheesy to just put on here. So I thought Bloom Darling would be a bit cuter. So I definitely think this is still a little sticky, so it's probably not completely dry. But other than that, I really like it. And probably another thing that I would probably do different next time if I were to do this is make the rust a lot more noticeable. I think like I was a bit afraid of like making it ugly, or like a clown did it or something, you know, with like very bright colors. I wanted it to kind of make it look like it matched the piece. So there was a little bit of a struggle with like having a balance, but other than that, it is still noticeable, and I do think it still kind of like adds to the thing. But yeah, that is it. Thank you all for watching. Bye!